Hello Summoners, hello guys, I am back with another video to talk about mid-season power rankings, and specifically today we are talking about the LCS, because their mid-season, well technically their 11th game of the season, so one game after mid-season, starts tomorrow. Wait, I think I said tomorrow was this way in the last video. Okay, so it's starting tomorrow. And let's just hop right into it. So again, this model was made to try and predict the worlds perfectly, and we are testing to see how it does throughout the season. And it worked on 2019 and 2018 worlds brackets, and let's see how it does for on. If you have criticisms or anything on making this content better, I am more than open to hear. Thank you for Oracle's Elixir for providing the data that I use to more or less build the model, and let's hop right into it. So the model says that the teams should be rated as Cloud9, TSM, Team Solo Mid, Team Liquid, Golden Guardians, Evil Geniuses, Dignitas, CLG, 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, and Immortals. We all know that actually the LCS is a soup. Right now we got Cloud9 in first, FlyQuest in second, Team Solo Mid in third, Immortals in fourth, Dignitas in the fourth place with them, Evil Geniuses and Team Liquid in sixth, and Golden Guardians and 100 Thieves also in sixth, with CLG in a confirmed 10th place. So, what is there to talk about here? The first thing, we went over clumps last episode, so we'll talk about clumps a little bit this episode as well. Cloud9 is far and ahead the best team. I could probably put another blessed sign there because Cloud9 has shown that they have great synergy. All their players are just amazing. Blabber paid off for them humongously. That there's a joke that Cloud9 lost the off season. I'm not sure how you lose the off season when your team is this good. They have the best AD carry, they have the best top laner, they have the best jungler, they have the best mid laner, they have the best AD carry, they have the best support. Like, what else is there to say about Cloud9? Like, in the preseason, the model said they were going to be the best. In actual, they are the best. Personally, I think they're the best model. I think they're the best. We don't really need to talk about them more. They're the best. The only other thing to talk about with Cloud9 is that not only were the Sven, Vulcan, and Blabber decisions all extremely worth it, and they proved that they were worth it. My model said they were worth it at the start of the season, and they are showing that, yeah, my model was correct in saying that it was worth it. I honestly think they can win MSI this year, given the state of the LPL, given how the LCK meta is looking. Like, the LCK meta is looking pretty sit back, and Cloud9 is very proactive. And Cloud9 honestly looks better than most European teams. Now that's a stretch to say, because a bunch of the European teams are better than a bunch of LCS teams, but I think Cloud9 could be. I think that if we have a team that could ever win MSI, it is this year Cloud9. And that's pretty much all there is to say about Cloud9. Let's see here. Oh, one thing to notice right off the bat is that this model is really bad at handling fantastic team synergy with okay players. As you can see, the model says that FlyQuest and Immortals are both awful. And if you look at the actual standings, they're near the top. So what can we infer? So in the LEC video, we talked about how Mad Lions is a really good team, but they're very sloppy. If you watch most Immortals games, they only had one very convincing game. I was only super convinced by one of their wins, and that was their win against Team Liquid. Because Xmithy popped off, all the lanes got ahead because of Xmithy's popping off. Broxah was made to be pretty much worthless in that game, and yeah, it's fair to say that Immortals is they're an okay team, but I think it's more they're really good at stalling to the late game and then winning. I don't think they're actually good, and we can kind of see that when we watch their games, is that they're all super close, and then they win that clutch team fight, and then they win the game. The model agrees with the LCS analysts, and I also agree with the LCS analysts. Immortals is that team where it's like, when do we start saying they're a good team? It's pretty hard to determine whether Immortals is actually a good team or not. I'd say they're more clutch, but I don't think they're actually good. I'm pretty positive they're not actually good. FlyQuest. Now, this team is another story, because you have Wild Turtle, who a lot of people consider is the worst AD carry, and in this model, he is the worst AD carry. You have Santorin, who is an amazing jungler. You have Viper, who either pops off hard or has awful games. Like he's not a mid. He doesn't have a medium game. Like watch most of FlyQuest games. Viper, he either pops off super hard, or he just dumpster fires. And that's kind of the case with a lot of FlyQuest. Like the only consistent characters, the only consistent players on FlyQuest are Power of Evil, Santorin, Ignar. But Wild Turtle and especially Viper are very hit or miss with how they play, which is why I think they did awful in the model, because consistency is what gets awarded here. And if we look at other FlyQuest games, we could say sort of the same thing that we can say with Immortals, is that it's like they start off losing, then they have a clutch team fight, then they claw their road back to victory, and then they win. Now, that's actually pretty... The fact that they've been able to do it for so much tells me that they are actually a really good team. But... And they've had some convincing games, right? They've had more convincing games than Immortals has, for sure. But that's why they're rated so low here. And they were rated low at the start of the season. They're still rated low now. The interesting thing, really, is that the model says CLG is 7th and not 10th. The thing to look at here is Pobelter. Pobelter has come in, and even though they haven't won, he's had really stellar games. And he's played very few games, and they've all been stellar. And so he's kind of inflating CLG's score in the model right now. Because as you can see, we have Pobelter's score, CLG with Pobelter, and then we have CLG without Pobelter, with Crown instead. And if you take Crown and put him back into CLG, then Immortals becomes awful. I mean, CLG becomes awful. I guess that could be... You can attribute that to good communication. I think that CLG's communication probably got better, but I still think that CLG is an awful team, which is why I placed them in 10th. Like if you look at most of the games they lost, it starts in the top lane. And then like if you watch Ruin's games, they're really poor starts. They're pretty awful starts. Like look at that Kale game, for example, at the beginning of the season. He started off 0-4, but he salvages KD at the end because he got the level 16 Kale, and let's be real, level 16 Kale like pops off. But since he fed a bunch of other players and the other team got fed, they ended up losing. So that didn't show here. But it's like, I don't think that... I think that Ruin is the problem with CLG, in all honesty. And in this model for top laners, he's rated in the bottom 10 for top laners. And yeah, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I could talk about Ruin and why I think he should not be the top laner for CLG for a long time, but we're not gonna talk about that. The other thing we need to talk about is that Dignitas was rated as the 3rd best team in the preseason, and right now they are 4th, so they actually are meeting expectations from preseason. Well, my preseason expectations so far, which is fantastic. But right now, the model does not think that they're as good as they were in preseason. So, and it shows, right? It shows. Dignitas They started off super strong. They popped off in the first 3 weeks. In the first 3 games they popped off super hard. And if you look at their other games, there's so much slop. They got so messy. So hopefully they bring that back and move back up to expectations. The other thing to talk about here is Team Liquid. Because right now, the model says they're 3rd. Right now they're 6th. I have them at 7th. I don't think they can make playoffs. I'll say it. I don't think Team Liquid can make playoffs. I think they look too bad. I think you just throw Spring away, try and get better, and come back for summer and dumpster everybody. I think that's the play for Team Liquid right now. I don't think they can make playoffs. Impact has had sloppy games. Double Lift has had, oh my gosh, let's not get started about Double Lift. Core JJ has looked really good. Core JJ has looked really good. And Jensen has looked really good. And I don't sing Jensen praises that often, and I'm saying Jensen looks good. So, yeah, I think Double Lift and Impact, and the fact that they haven't been a consistent roster, is really hurting them. Like, they are so far behind everybody. Like, they've shown they can pop off really well. But, But in all honesty, personally for me, you could shuffle Evil Geniuses, Golden Guardians, and Team Liquid. You could shuffle those teams around. And that's really all there is to it. One thing we should talk about is our import rookies, Ryoma and Aika, on 100 Thieves and Immortals. No, I did not forget about them. They're pretty bad. They're pretty bad in the model. They are not good. They're bottom half. They are easily bottom half for mid laners. And I know that mid laners are like really high tier, but like I have to beg the question with LCS teams. Why are you importing these rookie mid laners when you have mid laners like Damonte sitting in Academy? Like, Damonte is easily an amazing mid laner. Why is he not on 100 Thieves or Immortals? Why? Why isn't he on 100 Thieves and Immortals? Take a risk on the NA talent, guys. Pick up Damonte. Stop these imports. That's really all I have for this. I think the most stellar, the last thing to talk about is we gotta talk about our golden boys, the Golden Guardians. Everyone had no expectations for this team at all. And my expectations for this team were like, they were here. My expectations were bottom with the model during preseason, but they have shown that they can be really good. In the games, like, if you look at all their losses, they're close. They don't just get dumpstered in any of their games. They don't just get dumpstered. They're all close games. And all their players are good. Like, Keith is coming in as a great support. FBI is a top... Okay, I'm going to go on a limb here. FBI is a top 4 AD carry. And the model also says FBI is a top 4 AD carry. If you take Cloud9 players out of the equation, FBI is a top 3 AD carry. Like, FBI is a really stellar AD carry. Golden Glue is a top 5 mid laner. He's a top half of the LCS mid laner, for sure. It's really good to see this Golden Guardian teams play well. And Haunter is still a top tier top laner. Like, what do you expect? Haunter is still a top tier top laner. He always has been. So that about wraps it up. I don't think we need to address 100 Thieves. I think 100 Thieves is playing out around expectations. I think they're delivering on expectations, at least for me, and for the model and such. So I don't think we need to really talk about them. So I think EG is the thing that's kind of cool. The model is preseason. We said Evil Geniuses is going to be 5th. And right now, the model still says they're 5th. And actually, they are 6th, right next to 5th. So that is really cool to see. Like, it's really cool to see the model come through and say, yeah, TSM. Like, TSM was, I guess, the other one. Everyone thought this TSM team was going to be meh. We didn't have good data for Dardoch, though, in preseason. And that would probably be the main thing to attribute there. Otherwise, that's about it. That's about all there is to talk about the NALCS. If you have comments about the LCS, I'm more than happy to talk about them. I love the LCS. I want to see the LCS succeed. And if getting these constructive conversations going with this data, with this model, maybe triggering people, getting people want to actually talk about these teams and their weak points and their actual like in-game stats, needs to happen. It really needs to happen. These players have to improve for the hope of NA. And I'll leave you guys with that. So comment down in the description, talk to me about the LCS. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video. I greatly appreciate it. And of course, the most important part of all is I hope that you guys have an awesome day. Catch you later.